Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor McGilligan here. We are back with the Rumour Mill, the second live of the transfer season. We're going to be back every morning from around about 9:30 to 10 a.m., everybody, with the Rumour Mill. Some confirmation news, some discussion points, and there's a fascinating one this morning, as you guys can see from the title, and it has come out of nowhere. But before we start with this, I need to get your opinions in the comment section below with the topic that we're speaking about today. It switched up a little bit. We were speaking about likely transfers that Daniel Farke and Leeds United are going to be looking at. We might get onto that towards the end of the video, so please stick with me. But yeah, surprising news. So let's get on to it. Nothing confirmed yet, of course. It's just reports. Once again, everybody, nothing winds me up more than people coming in here saying, "Is this clickbait?" It's called the Rumour Mill. Rumour Mill. Go on Google / put define rumor, and then you'll figure out what this is all about. It's discussion points, all based on what rumors are and what certain reports. That doesn't mean that this is the confirmation mill. It doesn't whatsoever. So just a quick one from me there. If you want to get involved in a giveaway, everybody, there is a tiny portion of people on the Patreon who are now involved in a giveaway that's still open. Absolutely free. Ready to get involved. I think you should. Okay. So a few things I wanted to speak about before getting into the main topic of the video. Obviously, Enzo Maresca has moved to Chelsea. And apparently, interestingly enough, the name that Enzo Maresca has and Chelsea have on their lips right now, it's not Crysencio Somerville, as we were speaking about the other day. Lots of reports close to Stamford Bridge, blogs, the London Standard were all reporting that it was going to be Crysencio Somerville. But the name is not Crysencio Somerville from Chelsea. It is Jorginho Rutter. Yeah, apparently Enzo Maresca is a huge fan, according to reports down on the London side of things. And apparently they're going to test Leeds' resolve when it comes to the Frenchman. So, yeah, this is what I'm talking about the window today. And just in general, there's a lot of Leeds fans, understandably so, everybody, understandably so, thinking to themselves that this is going to happen. We're going to be able to keep X, Y, and Z. And we've spoken about the Red Bull investment. We've spoken about why that's going to be profitable for Leeds United, why that's going to be advantageous, and essentially why we're going to be able to keep hold of certain personnel based on that fact. Yeah. Well, Tom, what do you mean? I love it when you talk to us like little kids. If you're not one of them saying that it's clickbait, then you don't need to worry about it, do you, fella? So let's move on. Anyway, Jorginho Rutter, Enzo Maresca. What's the link there? Well, there is no link, but apparently Enzo Maresca is fascinated by Rutter. He absolutely adores him, according to certain reports I've mentioned on the London side of things. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Now, the reason I'm mentioning the whole sort of pie here and the whole compass of different sides that we need to speak about is that Leeds have the Red Bull investment. Leeds have an almost confirmation that the 49 is going to go for it this season. We know that there's a 60 million quid investment there from the Red Bull network that's going to spread itself over 3 years to 200 million quid. And that is for the plan of Leeds United to get back into the Premier League, and then Leeds United naturally to develop on that as well. Now, the interesting side of this is how can we keep hold of our players? Well, the stark truth is, everybody, if we get good bids for a lot of our players, we won't be able to keep hold of them. We can do as much as we can. I am massively positive about the season coming up, the tenure coming up, and the Red Bull investment, as you guys know, and I'm extremely positive about that. However, what I will say is if a massive bid comes in for Archie Gray, if a big bid comes in for Jorginho Rutter, the ones that we're hoping are not going to move, Ethan Ampadu, another one there may be, as we look at the confirmation when it comes to Somerville, we look at the confirmation when it comes to Nonto. Those two are extremely likely to be leaving right now. We mentioned Arnie Slot looking at a 30 million quid deal for Somerville. Is it going to be anywhere near 30 million quid? As I said, it's rumours. So who knows? It's probably going to be a lot less than that, rising to 30 million quid. But the main topic here is if big bids come in, Leeds are probably going to have to deal when the stock is high. Now, the beauty about Archie Gray and Jorginho Rutter is there's a likelihood that their stock's still going to be high in January. It's still going to be high in the summer months because they're going to develop at championship level where clubs are still going to be looking at them. Big clubs are still going to be looking at them. But we've seen previously Ilan Meslier being the classic example of a youngster who's performed well, whose stock was high and Leeds didn't sell, and then it plummeted. I'm not saying that will happen with Gray. I'm not saying that will happen with Rutter. But now, under steady ownership, you would expect those negotiations and those that strategy of letting players go at a certain time because their stock is high to be a lot more ruthless. I think Archie Gray is still going to be the key in this sort of discussion that we're speaking about, him staying around, him being part of the fabric at Leeds United for at least another year, following that mantra of Calvin Phillips, his hero. I think that's still going to remain. Jorginho Rutter is still one who you've got to look at and think to yourself, it really does depend on the bid. It really does depend on the bid, because what Leeds are going to be looking at on top of that is, the amount we bought him for, which was a hell of a lot of money. Are we going to make money on that going forward? Potentially. He's only a young lad, but will Leeds deal right now if the price is right? It's going to be fascinating to see. Let's have a look. Morning all, vid or live? It is live, mate. Live, don't worry about that. We should keep hold of Gruev. He's a great player because it keeps some continuity from last season. Continuity is just as important at this stage. Losing Rutter isn't the end of the world, says Marcus. In my opinion, I think his stock will be reasonably high at the moment, and we will definitely replace him. Guys, 350, not hit the like button. Please make sure you do so. There's over 1,300 of you in the building. We need to rack those likes up for this every single morning. So the main news that we need to speak about this morning, and I want to get your thoughts on it, and I'm going to go on a bit of a sort of rant when it comes to squad building here and what this means. So Sky Germany this morning are reporting that Leeds United have rejected Premier League bids for Ilia Gruev, and Leeds are willing to talk to other clubs about the Bulgarian midfielder. And apparently Dortmund are the leading club for his signature at this moment in time. And there's reports in and around Germany that is the club who are going almost hell for leather for his signature. We know he played in the Bundesliga before. We know he's played for Werder Bremen. We know he's got good pedigree. Leeds brought him in for £6 million. It wasn't a cheap deal going down to the Championship. We know that it's not a cheap deal getting anyone in on £6 million, and a relatively unknown player as well. And Gruev's done well this season. I personally think he's a little bit overhyped by the fan base, and we'll get onto that, the intricacies of that in just a little bit. But Sky Germany are reporting this morning that Leeds have rejected Premier League bids for Ilia Gruev. Now, does that blow my whole theory out of the water? It kind of does, really, but it does depend on who has gone in for him. Is it an Ipswich? Could it potentially be a Southampton with the revamp that they're going to have within their structure as well? Are they going to be able to get Flynn Downs? Do they need to just keep a holding midfielder in there and let Smallbone and Aribo do their thing? And do they see Gruev as almost a replacement for that? Now, I have to say, when we look at that midfield, I think there's a really, really good reason that Leeds are going to do business there. I think if the price is right and the option is there, I don't know how much we're looking at, but if we are able to sell Ilia Gruev, we brought him for £6 million. He's only a youngster. He's only 23 years of age. You can see why German top clubs are looking at him. You can understand that, especially when you're looking at his stats, which Dortmund definitely do. And their identification of young talent is exceptional as well. So you've got to look at that. And when you've seen Dortmund linked to Rutter as well, you're thinking, wow, we've got a couple of decent players here. But there's a link back to Germany there for Gruev. You can understand why he'd want to go back. However, with it being another season in the Championship, I think they wouldn't have a chance if we got back to the Premier League. But Premier League bids being rejected is a big one for me. Dortmund being in there as well, obviously Champions League finalists, losing out to Real Madrid, of course, but that is a massive, massive, massive club that you can't really turn down for me if you are Ilia Gruev and Leeds United. Apparently, Leeds are willing to negotiate. It's massive news. I can't believe that. I did not expect that from a point of view of, is he good enough? There is no question for me that Archie and Ampadu go straight back into that midfield. There is no question that Ethan Ampadu is a better number 6 than Ilia Gruev. He's a more progressive passer. He's more aggressive. He's more combative. And what I don't want Leeds fans to start doing now is erasing what Gruev has done and start turning on it, because we don't know if this is true. We have no idea. Sky Germany reporting it, which is a very, very decent source. And it is absolutely clogged in the news outlets this morning when it comes to it, which I feel like there's no smoke without fire, especially if there's several news outlets reporting it. Obviously, the trickle-down effect from Sky Germany. But I don't want everybody to have this revisionism now and go back and say, he's crap, get rid of him. I've sort of been saying consistently that I have problems with him in the midfield. I have problems with how he goes about things in the midfield. That sounds really, really basic, but in terms of him opening his body up at the right time when he's got no pressure, him having this closed body approach consistently, which I think hinders Leeds hugely. Now, What's interesting here is as well, I mean, me and Joe were speaking about it recently. At Norwich, he had a very, very different setup, an extremely different setup when it came to progressive midfielders as well. Mario Vrancic was very much on the front foot. Tom Tribal was combative, but he'd break through the lines as well. He'd get forward. We saw that at Ellen Road, didn't we? You know, you had Tete in there as well, who was a little bit more of a holding midfielder. But overall, Norwich, in my opinion, had a more progressive midfield, a way more progressive midfield. Ilia Gruev is not going to give you that. Obviously, he gave us that wonderful moment against Norwich, but over the season, our midfield didn't get enough goals, and the criticism is to be put on Glenn Kamara for that as well. But if we're looking at it from a back standpoint, everybody, and we're actually looking at the squad makeup right now, those double pivots were going to change. For me, anyway. And maybe Daniel Farke has had that conversation with Ilia Gruev. We know he likes him. We know he's neat. We know he's tidy. But overall, who are you rather having in there? Archie and Ampadu or Gruev and Kamara? Now, you can mix that up. Obviously, you've had Ampadu in there with Kamara. You've had Archie in there with Gruev. That certainly didn't work. And can Archie play in that double pivot? Because we see him more as a box-to-box, don't we? An advanced number 8. But maybe that's how Leeds are going about this season. It's more going to be about us attacking and getting goals from that midfield. Hopefully addressing the two real weak areas at Leeds United, which is set pieces, which we've been an abomination on when it comes to offensively, and getting goals from midfield. And to say it says Leeds are willing to negotiate. Obviously, the price has to be right, but they're willing to negotiate. They've already rejected Premier League bids, and the main club in for him now are Dortmund. Those are three things that I didn't expect to wake up with, on this morning. I did not expect that. Ilia Gruev in particular, I thought he was going to be a steady Eddie next season. I didn't think you'd get many clubs coming in for him. Maybe sort of a bottom 5, 6, potentially 7 German side, mid-table German side in the Bundesliga. But they're not throwing bags of money around, are they? That doesn't happen in the German Bundesliga. It's almost quite similar to Serie A in that respect and Ligue 1. So I didn't expect that. But Leeds are good. If Leeds can make profit on Ilia Gruev, it's going to look very good on the books. And potentially that might mean that Leeds can deal a little bit better with other players and keep it down a little bit when it comes to the noise around some of our better players. Could Red Bull have had an impact on that? Obviously, they've got a massive stronghold in Germany. We all know that. Could they have sort of expertise and agents in around Red Bull that could have stumped up this noise with Dortmund? You don't know. I doubt it. But Leipzig have done business with Dortmund before, so maybe there's a little bit of a link there if we're being really speculative and hypothetical. But I don't mind it. I have to say, I don't mind it whatsoever. If he is to go, I think thank you so much for everything you've done, Gruev. But let's be honest, it's really been the second half of the season where Gruev has sort of stamped his mark on this side. I thought as soon as Pascal was injured and Ampadu had to go to the back, that was Gruev's chance. And he's done well, but he wouldn't have had a chance if it wasn't for Ampadu. He wouldn't have had a chance in that midfield. He'd have been a bench option. Because we spoke about rotation this season. We spoke about how Daniel Farke lost faith with Jadon Anthony, Ilia Gruev, and Willie Gnonto on that Stoke loss when we lost 1-0. And he just stopped rotating, just completely stopped rotating, stuck with consistency, momentum, the same 11, as we've all spoken about, as we all know about. And I did not expect Gruev to come back in. Obviously, the injury happened with Pascal Stroud. Ampadu went to the back. There needed to be a shake-up in the midfield. There needed to be a little bit more steadiness. We had Gruev there off the bench. It was good depth at the time. We'd not seen him. But if Ampadu hadn't gone at the back, there's no way we'd have seen him. And I also think there's no way you can lace Ampadu's boots, when we're talking about that number 6. And I want to get a temperature from you guys. What do you think? Would you be happy with that? Would you be happy with the fact that we lose Gruev, who's been quite consistent and has maybe improved slightly? Maybe. I don't think he has. I think we hear all this way. He was playing loads of cross balls when he first came in. I saw a couple of cross balls maybe per game, a cross ball per game, but I didn't see this sort of highlight reel of what we'd see with Ampadu from the back and even Ampadu in midfield and Calvin Phillips of yesteryear. You just didn't really see that. You probably saw Tyler Adams playing more crossfield balls. And I thought that midfield was very, very restricted in that second half of the season. And there was problems there. So keep getting your comments in, everybody. Gruev's ceiling is higher, says Ricky. Interesting. Really, really interesting. I'm sick of the stick Gruev gets whilst Kamara gets off scot-free. Listen, it's not scot-free. It's just having logical conversation. That Gruev is a pass merchant, an absolute pass merchant, which you kind of want in your midfield. And I think he's been okay for Leeds. I think he's been decent, but he gives you nothing in that midfield. He gives you absolutely nothing in that midfield. And what people will do is they'll go off online, in my opinion, look at LUFC data, see he's got 99% pass completion, and then they'll say, "Oh my God, he's what a midfielder he is." But I mean, you'd be able to do a lot of what Gruev does. Gruev works in a 10-yard radius, a 5 to 10-yard radius, and a lot of it is backwards and lateral. So it's not as difficult when you've got a lot of sides who aren't pressing Leeds United, because they won't do it, because they get picked off. And we've seen that this season. A lot of sides, sides haven't pressed Leeds United. So when he picks the ball up from Ilan Mele in that sweeper role, and his immediate thought is to pass to one of the centre-backs, and then you see the centre-backs, and this might be an instruction from Daniel Farke, but Ampadu still from centre-back is more progressive than Gruev, and that is backed up by stats. That is facts. So listen, I like Gruev. But he is replaceable. I literally can think of 10 midfielders in this division who give you more than Gruev gives you. Is he top 20, top 25 players in this division? I'll give you that. Is he top 20, 25 players in this division? I would say not. And I would say there are midfielders in this division at worst clubs who are in that top 20, 25, in my personal opinion. 2 of them are at Coventry. Do you know what I mean? So I think you can have that ball ticking over consistently. You can be part of a double pivot, but you can also give a hell of a lot more going forward. That's in my personal opinion. I like Gruev, but he's massively overhyped. The thing with Kamara, in my opinion, is Kamara is a lot more of a risk. When he's playing next to Gruev, he will try risk a lot more. He doesn't shoot. We all know that. He gets past the halfway line and he gets, get a nosebleed. But at the same time, Kamara tries to pass these little passes around the side. He tries to do these things which gives us a tiny bit of risk in the midfield. He will go forward a lot more than what Gruev does. He won't shoot, and I think people get almost taken away by the fact that he doesn't shoot. Kamara doesn't do anything because he doesn't shoot. Kamara does a lot. He's very, very busy in those triangles between Junior, Rutter, and himself, and he does get forward a hell of a lot, and he gives Leeds that transition, as well as Rutter coming back and getting the ball. But I personally think that the hype around Gruev is staggering. And I've said it from day one. I think it is staggering. I think he's a very basic midfielder, and it's not slagging him off whatsoever. It's how I look at a midfielder. Might be wrong, but it's how I look at him, and nothing has really developed in his game. So I actually think it's really good news, and it's from reputable sources that Leeds United are going to be dealing with Premier League clubs who are looking at him, and clubs across Europe. But then again, you look at Dortmund and you look at these Premier League clubs and you think to yourself, well, why are Dortmund looking at him? But they just might want a certain profile who enables the number 8s and the number 10s to get forward, who will just stick there. We need more from a midfield, and we've seen that this season. But I don't think from what people are saying, it doesn't look like there's that many people slagging him off. I don't know though. But listen, we shouldn't be slagging him off. It's just we're talking about football, and I think if you're criticizing someone, the problem is there's so many snowflakes in this fan base that when you criticize someone, people think that it's slagging other people off and they cannot handle it. Constructive criticism is absolutely fine in football. Absolutely fine. I think that's where we all need to just get our adult pants on a little bit. You can criticize a footballer, you can still like him, and you can still massively respect what he's done for your club. And I'm really happy with what Gruev's done this season, but I think he's massively limited. And I'm actually really surprised that Premier League clubs are looking at him, to be honest with you. Maybe it's just a depth option. This is where we have to trust in Farke in getting the squad back to where it was. No other option needed. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Would really appreciate it, everybody. There's over 2,000 of you in the building. Let's rack it up. We've obviously got the debrief tonight as well, everybody. If you want to go, he can go, says Lars, and we get good money for him. He can go. No one in that team is irreplaceable. Last time I cared about a player leaving Leeds was when Howson left. Let's have a look at some others. Got to trust Farke's judgment. We just see these players go, players on a game day. Farke sees them every day at training, so we'll have a better understanding of where people's ceiling are and how they fit. Con, I'd sell him for the right money, replaceable, but I think he has the potential to outshine Kamara. I think that this is what I'm saying with the sort of right money. the right money. I think the right money is correct, replaceable, but I think he has the potential to outshine Kamara. I just think the different players, mate. Kamara is an attacking player. He's an attacking player in a double pivot. He was at Rangers and he is at Leeds United. I think he's the more attacking of the double pivot. I think the balance is okay between them. But no, listen, Kamara needs to improve. Kamara wouldn't be starting for me next season. He wouldn't be starting. I think the balance is perfect between Archie and Ampadu. And I think maybe Leeds have looked at that with Gruev. They've maybe looked at the fact that they might be looking at another 6. They might be looking at a number 8. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense for me. It does make a lot of sense. Are we going to elevate some lads from the youth as well? Who knows? But yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to see. Could do what Gruev does. Why are you not a pro then, mate? Just such a stupid comment. Just if you're getting a comment in, just make sure it's worth reading out. What does that mean? What Gruev does, then why are you not a pro then, mate? It's just we're being figurative here. We're talking in, it's non-essentials here. A lot of people can do what Gruev does. A lot of people can. If you go to the lower leagues, they'll be as good a midfielders, in my opinion, as Gruev. They're as good a midfielders in the Championship as Gruev. Stop taking it so literally. -10 Leicester City. Is that actual? Let us know. If Gruev left, Charlie Patino and Tyler Morton, we come back. And this is it when we're talking about other players at this level who give us a lot more. Eccles, Sheaf, Morton. There's many players who give you that defensive structure, but also give you a lot going forward, and it helps the balance. And we look at what's happened previously with his sides. Daniel Farke, he's had more sort of players in that double pivot who go forward as well, who give you a little bit more going forward. So I think that's key to note as well from previous experiences. Who's your target signing, Con? To be honest, mate, I would be looking at Ben Sheaf. I'd love Ben Sheaf. If we're to let Gruev go, Ben Sheaf is a monster, an absolute monster. Coventry are always willing to sell if they get the right price. If you're to get money in for Gruev and to go for Ben Sheaf, it's a media upgrade. This is what I'm talking about. There's too much sentiment attached with Leeds players from Leeds fans. Too much sentiment. It's great what Gruev's done. He's been part of the winning fabric. But let's be brutally honest, there are better footballers and better players in that double pivot than what Gruev gives. This is just constructive criticism, and as a fan looking at it, that's it, in my opinion. A lot of you guys love Gruev, which is absolutely fine, but he's more than replaceable. If we're to get 10 mil, we bought him for 6. If we're to get a 4 million quid profit, looks good on the books. Obviously, that's what we're trying to spread out nowadays as well. We're trying to make us look a little bit better in the spread out of the account sheet for obviously next season. If we're able to do that, and then you're able to bring in an upgrade on Ilia Gruev and someone like Ben Sheaf, who can play the ball from deep, can stride forward, is combative, is athletic, would give us more on set pieces. It's an immediate upgrade at this level, and you're not having to spend a ridiculous amount of money. Tyler Morton is a good shout, obviously, but Ben Sheaf at Coventry is a quality player. Eccles at Coventry is a quality player. Do you know what I mean? There are players at this level that can give Leeds a hell of a lot. This is what I was speaking yesterday about when it comes to Rodon. I think there's a mentality of there's only Joe Rodon, that's it. We love Joe Rodon. He's part of the setup at Leeds United, but don't worry. Leeds have got a hell of a lot to do, but don't worry. If we can't get Joe Rodon, there are others available. Ashley Phillips, who was unbelievable at Plymouth last season, has so many commanding attributes when it comes to centre-backs. Jacob Greaves at Hull City, who is bound for the Premier League. Absolutely bound for the Premier League. Nathan Wood, unbelievable at Swansea, would be ready for a decent price, has 1 year left on his deal. These are all players that are available that are almost, in my opinion, ready to go and ready to pick up. So Joe Rodon, I'd love to see him stay. Of course I would. This is just it's the sentiment thing. This is what I'm touching on right now. If Gruev is to go, there are replaceable targets out there. If Rodon is to go, that will hurt a lot more. It will, because I want him to stick around more than anyone. But don't worry too much, because there are targets out there to do. Jordan Miles, the technical director / recruitment director, has had 6 months now. He has to have a list of targets, a short list dependent on 10, 5 and 3 as well. And I thoroughly believe that they're going to be able to get more done at Leeds United. I'd be breaking my neck to pick up left back Alfie Doughty from Luton. Insane season for the Hatters, great numbers. To be honest, mate, I'd be surprised. I'd be really, really surprised if he was come down Championship level. I think he is actually a lower end Premier League club. Obviously we know that Amari Hutchison has gone from Ipswich. Could you get a left side of Leif Davis and Alfie Doughty at Ipswich? I think that'd be a really, really good upgrade. I agree with you in so many ways. Hey, Connor, love the channel. And my uncle is a Man U fan, said to me that he doesn't think Man U will go for our players. But yeah, definitely. Let's have a look. Sean says snowflakes. Connor, anyone who disagrees with you, you are biggest snowflake lag. You're like a dog. See, I wouldn't read your comment out, would I, lad? I wouldn't read your comment out. Look, we've got Sean. Who else have we got in here? We've got Tom in here. Tam, is it? Tom, who's made about 400 comments. Mate, I am absolutely happy for any comment to come. I wouldn't have read your comment out there, would I? I wouldn't have done that. And you have to say this naturally when it comes to these sorts of things. Look, to clarify this several of the times, we have people on the debrief who all disagree with me. Me and Dave Brown disagree on a daily occurrence. Me and KG disagree consistently, and I will bring them on this platform. Radio Leeds, when we get them on Radio 1 Leeds, loads of people disagree with me. I'm the only content creator who will put a link in the comment section for anybody to come on. And I tell you what, mate, Sean and Tam, next time we do one, which is going to be next week, lads, you come on. I'll actually DM you. Make sure you DM me on Instagram and I'll send you the link privately so you can come on and have a chat and you can criticize me all you want, mate. I ain't a snowflake whatsoever. People disagree with me all the time. It's part of the fabric of being a content creator. So I just thought I'd leave that there. We won't read any more of that crap this morning. Just because, not because your comments, poor or anything like that, but just because the whole criticism, I'm just almost validating what I'm saying right now. That's what I'm doing. If you've got an opinion on a football player, football's subjective. I say that every single week, and I'll read out the comments that disagree with me 100%, which I have done, by the way, through the whole stream. Let's keep getting some in. I'd like Dan Neal from Sunderland. How is Kamara an attacking player? Never shoots, no goals, no contribution to our attack. Well, Bob, the reason I'm mentioning being an attacker is because what he'll do is he'll push Leeds up the pitch alongside Jorginho Rutter. So Rutter will come and collect the ball and he'll move up the pitch with Leeds United. He'll drag Leeds up the pitch. Glenn Kamara is a player who works in those pockets, those offensive pockets on the edge of the area, those little triangles. You've seen that throughout the season. I think he gives us a really good option going forward, Glenn Kamara, and you'll naturally see him about 20 yards up the pitch, on average, higher than Ilia Gruev. I'm not saying he's a quality attacking player. You're mentioning no goals, no contribution to our attack. Maybe that's a development in his game, something that the manager can get out and work on him with. And I agree with you. It's not been good enough this season. However, what I would say is I think out of that two, he's definitely the more attacking. It's much more likely that Farker will go for McLean than Sheaf. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, Mikey. That Leeds approached McLean last season, fact, 850 grand, and it was laughed out the building at Norwich. Farker wanted to develop on experience in there, and that's going to be something to keep a keen eye on as well in this window, everybody. If Leeds are willing to, we forget that the manager brought in Morsey. Manager brought in Morsey? No, he didn't. We forget that Ipswich brought in Morsey and Luongo in that defensive double pivot. When McKenna was first there, and he worked with that, didn't he? Brought in Travis as well from Blackburn, a little bit of experience there when it came to one of Blackburn's better players. So what he did there is he dotted the team with experience, and it worked in the end, and they got more goals as well from that midfield. I don't think technically they're as good as our midfield, but they did a really, really good job. They got some more goals. They got more goals. They contributed to more offensive actions as well overall, than what the Leeds United players did in midfield. So I think the key thing to note here is going to be what Farker does in terms of experience, because he was talking about not having enough experience, obviously, when it comes to the midfield. So Gruev is 23 years of age. It makes a lot of sense Leeds dealing maybe with Premier League clubs and German clubs as well for his signature away from the club. That's one thing to keep an eye on. Experience, because he kept going on about experience. He did have that excuse, that ace card, which was going to be thrown in our faces if Leeds weren't to do certain things. So yeah, the experience thing is massive. Of course it is. And I look, McLean maybe won for last season. I think maybe won for last season. I'm not sure this season, because I think the ultimate aim, it was more chaos last season. If McLean had come in, he'd have settled things a little bit more experience. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen. I think Leeds are going to be elevating the targets, especially with Premier League so far away, so close, I should say. Rutter won't go all bull. Was that a little pun there, maybe, Martin? Uh, last year's team was a patchwork of authors purchases mixed with some gems. Farken has a chance to put his stamp on things, especially with the right back things. Yeah, I agree, man. Spoke to Jack Clark's dad 3 weeks ago. Not a chance he will ever come back to Leeds after he was sold to Spurs. Interesting, very very interesting. Yeah, let's have a look. Right. Mhm. Okay. Is Sargent actually any good? Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we went for Josh Sargent, actually, to be honest with you. If we can use last season as a blueprint on how to improve, I trust Farker to sell and bring in who he thinks will elevate the squad. Yeah, I think we've got to do, mate. I think we were chatting the other day about his longevity at Leeds United. And simply, things have to work with Daniel Farke this season. I think we're all very, very much aware of that, but they have to work quickly as well. Really, really quickly in terms of we can't be languishing at any point this season. We have to hit the ground running, and Farke will be aware of that. So I think he'll be pushing things a little bit more as well. We forget that he's got a lot of Bundesliga connections as well. Hell of a lot of Bundesliga connections. So that'd be fascinating to see if we do get players in. Could there be a nice little exchange deal with Dortmund? I could think of a few players out there that I'd like to have in, but nice little exchange deal with Dortmund. Farke used to manage Dortmund too, of course. I'd like that. Wouldn't mind some Dortmund players. And even if it is Dortmund 2 players, I love looking at the European market as well, not just what we've got here domestically. Looking at that European market, we've done it plenty of times before, haven't we? Samu Saiz, you'd probably stick Pablo Hernandez in there as well. There have been players that Leeds have brought over that have become absolutely huge when it comes to the fan base. Obviously, players like Alioski, and there are good players out there that can definitely acclimatize Pontus Jansson to this level, 100%. So I'd love us to exploit that market as well. The Red Bull connections, hopefully the 49ers connections as well, and Daniel Farke's connections with Germany, etc., etc. Sean, someone who disagreed with me, I will read your comment out, mate. No player is bigger than the club. Money talks, but if we can keep the core of the team, build that around, and we can do something good. I agree with you, Sean. I agree with you. And if I disagreed with you, mate, it'd be no problem either. It's absolutely fine with that. Hi, Connor. Need at least 5 new players. I can see more players going than we think. Yeah, I disagree with you. I'd agree with you. Last year's team was patchwork of autos purchases mixed with some gems. Farke now has his chance to truly put his stamp on things, especially with RB money. Is Latte Lath on the market? Latte Lath, I don't think he's on the market. Carrick signed a 3-year deal as well, hasn't he? So I don't think that's going to happen. But Tim says, morning, pal. Join you as I drive to Madrid this sunny morning. Oh, Tim, what are you doing in Madrid? Scouting for Leeds United, maybe, mate. That'd be lovely. But yeah, I think that's something that we have to summarize this with everybody. I think the Gruev conversation is something I didn't expect to talk about this morning. What I was going to speak about is players that I would be going for that I think Daniel Farke has a real link with that make complete sense for me. But the Gruev thing is kind of giving me a little bit of a bounce, as you can probably tell, and maybe a little bit heated but passionate this morning and excited with what's going on. I'm fully backing this 49ers project. I'm fully backing the Red Bull project. I've seen certain individuals on Wacko saying that they think I'm paid by the club. Oh, God, good golly. How I wish I was paid by the club. Wouldn't that be lovely? Somehow I don't think the club would come near me with my criticism of certain aspects over the years. But yeah, I'm obviously really excited with what's going on, because I think what we focused on a lot on last year was the outgoings, and I completely understand that with 15 leaving the club. But you have to focus on the outgoings, guys. You've got to focus on the outgoings. It's not all just about acquiring players, buying. But there is a hell of a lot we need to do this window. There is a hell of a lot. And listen, the Gruev thing is probably something that we haven't looked at. It's probably not something as a fan base that we've thought, oh yeah, Gruev going. But if we are to get him gone, if it is to balance the books a little bit when it comes to profit margins, obviously us buying him for 6 million quid and selling him for a certain amount, that'd be amazing as well. But I think he is replaceable, as I've mentioned 24 million times on this stream. But I think when you look at the back four, there's Ilan Melier, who maybe as a collective would be looking at selling. I would be looking at selling right now because his stock's really high, 19 clean sheets. And I think right now we would be able to get good value for him. Sam Byram, we've got the retained list coming really soon. Championship level. Could he stay for another year on the bench as a rotation option? Yeah, give him another year deal. Whatever, let's just do that. But the other right back options, Jamie Shack's going to be leaving the club. Connor Roberts is leaving the club. Byram, is he going to be starting? Not ideally. You're pushing Archie in midfield. Leeds need a right back. Leeds have to have a right back. We have to go. There's an argument you get 2 right backs. One maybe permanent, one on loan. Centre backs. As of us speaking right now, Cooper isn't going to be signing on with the club. Rodon has gone back to Tottenham. Cresswell is probably never going to play for Daniel Farke again. Strauch is there as well, but coming back from an injury, and he's injured for 10 to 12 games a season. And Purdue, we can't be looking at him as a centre-back. There's an argument Leeds need 3 centre-backs. So what we're looking at right now, potentially Ilan Mele replacement. I doubt it because Farke's called him the best keeper in the division. So Ilan Mele is going to be sticking around. It'd be interesting to see what's going to be happening with Klaassen and Darlow, of course. But you're probably looking at maybe 3 or 4 already at the back. Then you look at the left back option. Do you need a backup left back? Probably. We don't have a backup left back at all. Byram, I guess, can do that rotation thing, and maybe they'll look at that, but Byram's just never fit. So you probably need another left back. What's going to happen with Firpo as well? 12 months left on his deal. Leeds going to offer him a new contract. So there's potentially 4 already there. You go into the midfield. Gruev looks like, serious reports are considering him leaving the club. Gruev, maybe, so then you're looking at another defensive midfielder potentially to help out Archie and Archie and Purdue, because you've only got 1-6 in there now. You've got 1-6. You've got Kamaru, who's a little bit more advanced. Archie, who likes to be box to box. You need another back in there. Then you've got the dealings as well with Somerville, likely going to go. We're going to have to bring in another left-sided player cutting in. Nonso, likely going to go. Obviously, you've got Dan James there, but do you want to? I don't think there's as much pressure on bringing in a right winger, because I think you've got Dan James there, but you've got Rutter as well, who can play in that, and that is his position, cutting in. That's what he did at Hoffenheim, cutting in off that right into his left foot, and I'd like us to see him out there, to be honest with you. So there's not as much pressure on a right winger, in my opinion. Centrally, they've got to go get a number 10. They've got to get a 10. Whether that be Buendia on loan, that'd be nice. But a number 10 is absolutely key. Callum O'Hare, perfect, free agent. Go get him. And then the striker chat we're all having. Daniel Jefferson was rumoured, heavily rumoured. And that was from Sheffield as well, the Sheffield side. But, you look at Joel Perreault, they've got faith in him. Bamford, there's been a lot more murmurs about Bamford leaving the club. I think that would be fantastic for Leeds United. Bamford leaving the club, getting him off the wages. He's one of the, I think he's the top earner, or he's top 3. I know that. Getting him off the books, 31 years of age now, but he's got 2 years left on his contract. Is he going to want to leave Leeds when he's one of the highest earners? I doubt it. Leeds are probably going to have to look for a suitor, but is anybody going to pay that sort of money for Pat Bamford? That's another conversation. Joel Perreault, has it worked with it? But the whole conversation here is, everybody, realistically, and then you look at the depth. Obviously, Connor Roberts has left. Is Joe Gelhardt going to be a Leeds player next season after him just being left out cold by the manager for the full thing? Jaden Anthony's gone back. So maybe some of you, and listen, I was part of that, but maybe there's a few of you now going, oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. There is mass surgery that needs to be done. Ayling's gone. Dallas has gone when it comes to experience, but just bodies anyway. There is so many things that need to be done in this window for Leeds United. So much, So, yeah. Farke's signings last season needs to buy better this window. 100% agree, Connor. The 10 is a major issue, and on the flanks, I can see Verba coming back if no one pays for him. Yeah, 100%. A midfield that never shoots off never shoots, never scores, is never dangerous from dead balls. Don't need Gruev. Sell everyone except Cresswell. I've seen. No, I think that's not a title winning side, mate. Greenwood at the 10, who struggled at Middlesbrough, is not a title winning side. And I think it's very, very dependent on right now as a fan base where we see us. Do we see us as a fan base as a top 2 side? Is the minimum expectation top 2? For me, expectation, I'm saying top 3, top 4. Again, is Sam Greenwood at number 10? When we look at some of the promoted sides that have had a number 10, you could argue Dewsbury Hall was almost in a number 10. I don't think he was that much of a double pivot, to be honest. So in a number 10 this season for Leicester, you're probably looking at a little bit of maybe David Brooks in there for large period. I know he likes to go on the left and the right, to be honest. He can play in that 3. But you've also got, players at this level. You've had Amari Hutchinson cutting, but you've had Connor Chaplin there for large portions of the season as well. Even when we go a little bit lower down, you've got Elias Share. Is Sam Greenwood I'm not 100% Sam Greenwood could be a number 10 for a top 15 side in the Championship, to be honest with you. That's my thoughts out. I'm not sure when the retained list that is out, everybody. It could be today, and then we'll obviously get the news out. Obviously, Yusuf Poulsen, good shout. Yeah, I like him a lot. Bum bum bottom bum bum. Loving the content, Connor. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. Yeah, and I guess everybody, we will leave it there, but really appreciate that. There's over 3,000 of you in the building, guys. Can we get 1,000 likes? Just rack those likes up if you're enjoying these. If you want these every morning at this time, I can do it. I said it yesterday on yesterday's stream. I will do it every morning. Every morning if you want me to. But I don't know if you want me to do it if the likes are low. If we're getting 200, 300, 400 likes on a video with 3,000 people, you can see how there's a common denominator there, everybody. And I'm thinking, maybe these people don't want to see that. But if you want these every single morning at 10 o'clock to fit in with your morning coffee or wherever you are in the world, it could be your glass of wine at the end of the evening. But if you want me to do these every single morning, please make sure you do so. It's almost like a podcast, isn't it? But make sure you like the video. Please make sure you subscribe. I guarantee there's not 3,000 of you all if you subscribe. Make sure you do that. We've got Patreon content coming today. You want some bonus bits? Link in the description below. Free giveaways on the Patreon. Get involved. Why the hell not? Yeah, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure from me, Connor, at One Leeds HQ, and we will see you this evening for some more extended chat on this with the debrief. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you in a bit. Have a good day.